Yo, am I good?
It says connecting, brother. I can hear you.
Are we there? Are we good?
Oh, what it is.
What up?
We got the quarantine beard going. I trimmed mine a
He's
little
back.
bit. Just a little bit.
He's back.
It's got a little
Again,
gray.
Dream Killer
Uh,
with my homie, my brother, Hany Rambod. That's how we do the intro. Yeah.
What's up? Let's see who's on here. We got
What up?
Hany.
What up? What up?
We got.
Turn this down.
Let's see who else.
Hold on. Let the beat go for a little bit. What's up,
Oh
everybody?
man, he's all amped up. He's all amped up, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Woo. All right. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
You know, I had to make sure I had my little trim. You know, you're a little blurry, bro. A little blurry.
A little bit.
Come out a little blurry. And laptop, so that I can see what you're looking like. Yeah, a little blurry. Your connection, you know. Yeah, you're a little scrambled. Like my laptop is real bad. Like the connection, like you look like you ain't 3D, bro.
Let's see if
Let me make sure that my shit is on. Hold on.
Are you on Wi-Fi, bro?
I'm on Wi-Fi.
Okay, so am I.
Yeah, but you outside. So anyway, yeah. Everybody's saying you look blurry, bro.
All right, guys. Hey, Britt, what's up? Britt, are we both blurry, or is it just me?
Nah, you blurry.
Let's see. He like 1D.
Yeah, you like on 1G. You're supposed to be 4G, 5G, like.
Well, I can crank it over to 5G. Try that?
You look better now. I'm simulcasting. I got you. You look good on my phone. I'm looking at you on my laptop. You look way better.
Okay.
Yeah, now you're looking better though. So let's let me go ahead and turn you off.
It might be
right
because
here.
Cameron's got his Zoom, so that could be taking up the bandwidth.
He's taking up that bandwidth.
He's taking up that first grade bandwidth.
So anyway, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm quarantining. As you've seen on my social, it's been Northern California. You know, we've been in quarantine mode now for a minute. So
y'all been in real stay at home.
Yeah. It's been one of those things where trying to get out, exercise. We talk about that all the time. Trying to burn off some of that extra anxiety you get from being home and having cabin fever. So it's been a matter of focusing on trying to get business done, taking care of, obviously, it's amazing understanding how being at home now and having a first grader at home where Fairness is trying to take care of that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Queen, Fairness, for holding it down with Mr. Cameron, you know, doing his Zoom class.
Yeah.
You know, he's been, man, like that's something that obviously Sheree and I, we don't have the pleasure of having right now, is to having a child. I'm sure it has like you said, like some ups and downs, you know, because you don't necessarily work from home, right? So like your office is like less than 5 minutes from the house?
Yeah, it's like 5-7 minutes from the house.
Okay, yeah, so you just bounce.
But lately, you know how it's been. I don't even go in the office, so I'm working from home.
Yeah.
So
that's
so she's working from home. Right. She's working from home, taking care of Cameron, and then going into her, you know, her store, Nutrition Palace, and then she checks in. And obviously I'm working from home as well, trying to work around this whole quarantine situation. But And then the rest of the bodybuilding world it seems like the rest of the world in general has been kind of at a standstill, waiting for everything to slowly open up.
Yeah. I
There's
think.
Danny. You see Danny? She's digging our beards.
She digging a beard. That's because Dave, though. Dave's got, man, I need to get with Dave Rienzi because my beard is patchy and I need help. I'm about to just cut it all off. But he's got the
Dave's
good
got
beard.
his beard game going. Yeah, his
His
beard
beard is on point, man. His beard's on point. But yeah, no, I definitely felt like when you brought this idea of doing a live, I was like, we got to do this because the fans have really been, starving for content, and especially from us, right?
Right.
So, it's really important that we, oblige those people. But I think one of the biggest things right now is we should probably take some questions real quick and then maybe get into it. Because I have a feeling some of these questions are going to turn into a story from like our past, right? So
right.
I'm looking. I haven't really seen anything. Oh, this guy was making jokes just for men, huh? Yeah, I use that shit. I used that shit the other day because you see this gray right here. I didn't get the gray down there. I'm about to just get it right here.
Yeah,
But,
man, I got just for old men. I got to get some of that.
Yeah, just for old men. I like that. I like that. That's. I'm gonna patent that, man. I'm not seeing anything.
I got some questions earlier. People were asking me
Okay.
that they were hitting me up on DM, and they were asking me, "Are you still training right now?" Like they wanted to know, like, "Are you still training?" So obviously, I know the answer to that, but why don't you just explain, kind of, are you still training?
So the answer is yes, just not at a gym. So, it's very different. But one of the things I made sure I did throughout my career is always being resilient, right? So like we were, you and I both, we've traveled together around the world and this and that. Sometimes the gym wasn't always there. So, you get some exercise bands. We got some dumbbells here, obviously doing body weight resistance. I use, body weight resistance even with my Complex machine, which is a muscle stimulator. So I can control the resistance on that and really working on core strength right now, because that's something that, obviously I had, a couple hernia surgeries. So I was really trying to make sure I was staying, a lot of core exercises, a lot of stretching. That's something I completely forgot about ever becoming a bodybuilder. So just focusing on those things. And thankfully, because, I've been in, stay at home, and Cherie's a great cook. I've been not missing meals. And then, having that muscle maturity has really, really worked out.
Well, the whole stay-at-home thing, I think a lot of people are trying to do their best they can, and I just don't feel that people understand that right now you're not going to go out and like everyone else and make a huge amount of improvements. You're just trying to maintain what you have,
Right.
For the most part. Especially, being an open bodybuilder versus, somebody who's just trying to get some exercise in. But it's a really important fact that you guys just try to continue to keep exercising even during the stay at home.
Right.
We got a question actually from Danny. So
Yeah,
she's asking, what are the 3 most important mindsets that you use in bodybuilding that can apply now?
Well, I believe number one, you got to be organized. I mean, so one of the toughest things for a lot of people when it comes to even doing a competition or even just doing a basic diet is lack of organization. So you got to make sure that your space around you is clean and organized and whatnot. So having structure, I know you and I talked about that from day one. Having structure is to, what time you're getting up, what time's your first meal. Everything has to become a system. So definitely organization, creating systems, and then just having that resiliency in your mind to know that regardless if you have a gym or not, look, we were all in a point where when we were all coming up that, we didn't have a gym. We may have had like our dad's weight set that was garbage, We may have only had like body weight resistance. So just resilient, having that structure, staying organized, and resisted, and that's something that I continuously do. Um, and it's just been ingrained in my DNA throughout my career of having that mindset of, being resilient, being disciplined, having structure, staying organized, and then always reverting back and studying, did that really work or not? Because the proof is always in the performance, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another good question. Actually, this one's from Britt. Do you find it easier or harder now to follow a routine?
I would say it was, and then they're like, no gyms. I remember, I think we had talked that day, like, oh shit, like, what do we do? Like, this is going to really impact, everything. So, you know, overall, I mean, you just do your best to be innovative, to try different things. Don't just believe that there's one process. I mean, we all are different, so there's no like universal way of like training someone individually. But for me, it was more assessing like my weak points constantly, assessing little bruises and injuries and stuff, like what's hurting, what isn't, doing self inventory constantly, so that when we get out of this and get back to our normal gym stuff, that'll actually be better. Like I won't have those pains and this and that, because you get on my ass all the time about foam rolling and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
I was like, well, actually I hit up Dave Rienzi, and I was like, which roller should I get? And he just threw me an Amazon pitch, and I was like, all right, cool. So I bought all that stuff before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, it's been helping out a lot, and it's really allowed me the time to even focus on like meditation, man. Because being isolated, like that could really mess with up here. And getting outside in that backyard, getting some good sunlight has been that vitamin D. That's been great for me right now. Like that was like just being in silence. You know what I'm saying? Because like we both live like in an area where there's not a lot of traffic in our neighborhood, but if you go outside, like now, like you can hear your bird, I can hear your birds chirping and stuff like that. Just being in that, like in that place, is actually beautiful in a sense. Because normally we're running a million different directions with business, with family, with everything else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you make a really good point. And then I think somebody had just mentioned also routine is really, really important. And I think the hardest thing about the routine portion of it is that you, at least me, I'm, as you know, working together for, going on 15 years, I'm a control freak. And I'm trying to keep as much control around my surroundings as possible. And when you're trying to do that, you're constantly in trying to protect your family. You're trying to protect your business. You're trying to make sure you're thinking several steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you're in that mode. And sometimes it's hard to get into a regular routine. For me, when I was trying to have the ability to segment between going to the office and what I'm doing at home in regards to the responsibilities. And the next thing you know, you lose that routine sometimes because you go out. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't had my first meal yet. That's why I like to try to do whatever I can to start my day off and know when I'm going to do my cardio, start that fresh so I can kind of build that routine so I don't let the day get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But Danny actually just asked me a question. Hany, as a successful business owner and coach, how are you guiding the people around you? Actually, much similar to what I was just mentioning. Actually, what I'm doing is, obviously it's tough times for everyone. The gyms are closed. The Evogen business is suffered because of that. International has suffered. It's not just us; it's everyone. Just to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
everyone. I know they're out there shooting movies. They had to stop that.
Right.
It's just no one has gone unscathed in this to some degree. And what I've done is I've just tried to do whatever I could, where we have to try to protect the business to make sure
Mm-hmm.
there's something to come back to when things
Right.
open up, and make sure that we've created efficiencies And I did that with my company, where everybody who was doing things on the B2B end that slowed down is now working on customer service. Me working with my athletes that are getting ready for the Olympia, like Andre, like Hady, the guys that they're trying to make sure that we check in and keep them focused, so they don't end up losing their focus and not train hard because they don't know what's coming. I constantly talk to the people in the industry about, hey, look, when they do reopen these gyms up and when they do reopen the shows up, make sure that everyone already knows, and I tried to put this out on my IG a lot, stay in shape. Get, for the athletes, stay in shape, because the Olympia is coming. Now, there's word that, they might change up the dates. That's not confirmed yet. That might happen. But for certain, the dates of the New York Pro, the dates of the Team Universe, those have gotten moved around. So what's happened is now Steve Weinberger and all those guys, they've moved around their shows. They're trying to adjust. We're all trying to adjust. So it's that constant communication and making sure that we all know that, hey, look, it's okay that we don't know, but we all not know together. And when the information does become, available for all of us, be ready. Because if the Olympia does go off in September, we're ready. If it gets pushed back, we're ready. If it, hopefully it doesn't get canceled, because I don't think that'll happen. But if any adjustments happen, we're ready. So what we're doing is we're constantly looking at a war room situation where there's a constant state of flux, and we have to be fluid and very dynamic with the ability to be able to pivot. So that's what I do with my team. I know you and I talk a lot about just like the economy and what's happening, and trying to make sure you're protecting your business, and that's kind of how I do it. So that's the long answer to that.
I just saw our favorite bald head 6'4" friend, Mr. Terramana himself, Dwayne Johnson, said, "I'm training right now like a motherfucker."
Is that what he said?
He is. I know he is. I'm jealous, man. I gotta, that's one thing that, at some point, I definitely have to invest in that Ronnie Coleman / Dwayne Johnson Iron Paradise. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that they're in that gym right now. I know he's in that gym training too. I'm pissed. I want to get my ass out there and go beat up some weights with him. But
DJ's a beast. Let's talk about DJ for a second, because DJ, as we all know, is getting ready for Black Adam. Okay.
Right.
And you and I talk about this, right? Because obviously we're not used to a movie star, even though I call DJ movie star. Yeah, we can call him a new movie star, right? Being as swole as he is, right?
For real. Yeah.
And so he's taking it to a whole nother level. And obviously I've been blessed enough to be able to work with him in the past. Dave's worked with him ongoing for, I don't know, for 8 years, I think, or more, something like that. And I've never met a guy who is like a bodybuilder, but not even just like a bodybuilder the last 12 weeks of an Olympia, but somebody who is literally has that Olympia mentality. I know people who do the Olympia that don't have the Olympia winning mentality. Right. And he, I know, you spent time in the gym with him. We've said, how he has that mentality where he could literally like do the Olympia, and, not figuratively. I'm talking about like the whole mindset.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got to keep in mind that, being, Division I athlete like him, regardless of, stats and stuff like that. I mean, to play, at the U, I mean, come on, like the amount of competition that he was always, around, that really cultivates, a certain level of mindset. Like you got alphas, you got betas, like, and they sort themselves out, so of course he chose to be a champion and stuff. And then obviously with his experiences in wrestling, I mean, I want to say what, 12-time champion, world champion. I mean, like I can't even count, what I'm saying?
I mean, he's been so many different champions within WWE.
So you got to keep in mind, like that mindset transfers over, and that's the beauty of, working out, being in the gym, being consistent, doing all those things that we talked about, being organized, attention to detail.
Yeah, but let's talk about coachability, because that's what I want to talk about, because that's what everybody talks about with you. And that's what people say, what makes him different? It's his coachability. It was your
Right.
coachability of getting you to where you're at to win 7 Olympias, right?
Right.
Because where you just take that information, process it, and then the results speak for themselves. That's why he's where he's at with even with his team, whether it's the movies, whether it's Terramana, whether it's Under Armour, whether any of those partners, brands that they're teamed up with and they own or they're partnered with in any way, shape, or form. It's the same thing. It's that taking it to that whole other level because you're coachable. And that's what, honestly, man, this is my roundabout way of complimenting you, you've been coachable to the point where you allowed me to help you, and people around you have been able to help support picking the right shows, taking the right time, not rushing it. When we did the first Olympia, perfect example. You did your first Olympia. We took a bye the first 2 times you qualified.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people in the industry didn't understand that process, but at the same time, look, guys, I had started bodybuilding. My first show was in April 4, 2003. I had met Hany fresh after 2 years after that. I won the Miss USA's in 2005. I met him that summer at the North Americans, and it was a really good experience. But then obviously being able to be around like-minded individuals like yourself, we're able to cultivate a good relationship. But it started off as a friendship, and that was really what made us be able to work together. Because a lot of times, you don't really like the people you work with, and when you're dealing with egos and attitudes and this and that, it's very difficult. It's very trying on a relationship. So, we were able to figure all that out. Obviously, I love the gym. You love to be able to train people, get them. You enable us to get to our goals, and listen to our goals, and help us out. But here's another question from Danny. It says, talk about how ego and coach ability actually do work together. I'll let you answer that.
Well, the biggest thing about ego and coachability is how to direct the ego in a coachable fashion to get the proper result. So a lot of people go, oh man, so-and-so's ego is so big. We got literally Machiavelli Motivation posted something yesterday with you doing a soundbite. And what'd you say? Line them up. All effing kill them all.
All day. The Hanzo sword is in that closet, by the way.
Right.
For a reason.
Right. And that Hanzo sword is out of a movie that was designed to cut people's heads off. And that was that dream killer mentality, just like Kobe had. Kobe, a lot of people couldn't stand Kobe because of his mentality, that Mamba mentality. And that dream killer mentality is not very different than the Mamba mentality. And we got another guy in here who has that same kind of mentality. Hadi Chopin just jumped in. Salam Hadi.
Yeah.
He just said, saying hi. But the whole thing is that mentality is really, really important, because if it's directed the right way and you have the right coach and the right team and you can have the right person following the right game plan, the results are, endless. And that's why I think that yourself, obviously DJs on here, you got people that can really elevate, and that's the difference where I talk about between being good and great, and go from great to legendary, right? You gotta be able to find the right goats if you want to be a great goat herder, right?
Actually, Cherie just had a quick question. She said, let's talk about, because I'm sure it may differ between us, and I know this is a question a lot of people probably have thought about, maybe haven't asked, but it says, let's talk about our favorite Olympia year. What's your favorite Olympia year?
I have memories, there's so many different Olympia memories that I personally have. One of them, out of computer, domination, 2013. That is my thing, because it was Phil Heath back in line, right? That was something where I was like end game, and going into it, we had so much positive energy in 2013. I mean, I remember just even being super excited during the weigh-ins and the press conference and the you know how we do the weigh-ins, that little meeting that we do.
Yeah.
There's some when we were in there, and the game plan was so on point and everything was falling in line that I felt very, very confident that it was going to be your best, because lots of times you can say someone's going to win, or you think someone's going to get enough win, but you're chasing other renditions of yourself. So my 2013 in terms of back in line, then in terms of other Olympias that were very memorable for me, obviously with you and Jay going 1-2, that was something where I started walking away when you guys were placed in, they were trying to announce who the winner was, and somebody stopped me in the aisle, because I sit like in the fourth row, and
Right.
and they said, well, why are you leaving? Don't you want to see the result? And I said, I don't care. I won. Like, my guys, I don't care who wins 1-2 at that point,
Right.
because you guys were in the top two. So
Right.
in that situation, that's where I felt like just that sense of like being just proud of you guys. So, but out of pure domination, 13, out of the fact that where you guys were 1-2, that was really big. So again, very different feelings, but those were the ones that come to mind right now.
Yeah, I would say definitely 2008 was dope, just because it was my first time, being up there. 2011 because.
By the way, you could have won that show.
100%. I mean,
2008.
2008, I really think I could have won that show.
Yeah, even Jim Mannion told me, he goes, if he looked the way he did the second night, Hany, he could easily could have won that show.
There was votes on Saturday night, that pose down had me winning. So, I mean, that gave me the confidence, obviously. I would definitely say, to be honest, man, like, obviously 2011, 2013, 2016, those are my favorites. But one that I think we would definitely have to expand on in a little bit of a different setting would probably be 2009 and 2010. Because 2008, doing the Olympia, all the hype of sitting out for 2 years, everybody talking trash, this and that, Dexter Jackson, Melvin Anthony, all these guys calling me scared. Then I go up there and place third at my first Olympia, serve notice. Then to come out the following year, sitting out the Arnold Classic, placing fifth after being sick. But then that next day, I'm in the gym training with no fluids, no nothing, and that was the photo shoot with Flex Magazine, where they had like Marvel and DC come together. Remember, with MD guys and Weeder guys come together with Joe.
Yep.
And we did that photo shoot. So that was like a moment in time for me to realize, like, although I placed fifth, it was an opportunity for me to trigger my mindset to say, you know what, you can always get better even though you're dying. Mm-hmm. And then obviously 2010, because, I go from fifth to second. And then having that mindset to lead me into saying, it's not about, being buddy with Jay. It's more about winning the title. It isn't about the person I'm competing against. It's about me going for that. So, yeah, that was really cool. There was another question. Danny's on fire, man, with these questions. He says, you both are very social media savvy. Do you think having an audience relationship is a must for today's professional bodybuilder? I definitely think that addressing your audience, openly, but most importantly, like when I say openly, more transparency, while still keeping some stuff to yourself, I think is really important. I think right now a lot of people, because we're in this stay-at-home quarantine, you're seeing a lot of content, but is your audience actually feeling connected to you? And I feel like I may not do a lot of lives and this and that, but I feel like over the years people felt connected because of the fire, because of the passion, because of the open, honest answers. The times where I would even get upset, is wanting to be unapologetically just successful in life. And I've always preached that. And even you've tried to pull the reins on me and stuff to say, hey, Phil, like, I don't know if you want to talk like this. And it's like, no, because people are going to look years from now and say, he was very passionate about his process. He never forgot where he came from. And he's just being him. And, eventually people do appreciate that. So I think right now with social media, the content that we have in front of us that we can use and, the way we can connect is very very, very important. I take a greater responsibility, I think, now more than ever to try to, connect. But I love like days like today to where we could do stuff like this and answer those questions.
Yeah, I think in the past, I think we talked about this, and we had a medium used to be the magazines that a lot of people used to see our articles and stuff like that. And we would do photo shoots, and we would do some video shoots.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, as I've done them with Andre, or I've done them with Hady and whatnot, I think the last one we did together, which was really cool, was when we were in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And people were just like so excited to see us do what we've been doing for the last 15 years. And I think people are just hungry to see that.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I have 50 different people hit me up and say, when are you going to have Phil and Hady train together?
Right.
And
because we've held that content from people because we were so consumed like with the end result. Like we weren't, it was like kind of like it would be like asking the late Kobe Bryant to go on live and show shooting techniques and stuff like that. It's like, nah, man, I'm just here to go kill everybody and go get my trophy. And that's really what we were doing this whole entire time. But I do think I personally feel like I owe it, to the fans, to try to, bring them in a lot more. And, we're filming a documentary, obviously. Once we can get everything resorted, we'll be back at that. And that's kind of, help tell the story and reconnect with the people. But in the meantime, I think stuff like this is really cool. I know we had a question from another person who said, just rewatch your documentary for the 7th time. Any more documentaries coming to be in production anytime soon? Yes, that is correct. Hardcore Caitlin asked that question. Yep, we're currently working with Adam Scorgi Productions, also with $7 Productions to unleash Breaking Olympia. It's a working title at the moment. We've already started filming. It's definitely going to talk about the Phil Heath story. But that story also obviously includes Hany Rambod, so, we'll put up more updates about that later. Trying to sort through some questions and stuff.
Flex Wheeler, he's just saying great content. Thank you both for your insight. Thanks, Flex, man. I hope you're having a good recovery. I know Flex went through a tough time with the amputation. He's made it very public, which is very hard to do. And, with his...
Shout out to the big homie Flex Wheeler, man. Like,
living legend. Living legend.
That's I laugh because I'm like, when I was an amateur, it was back in 2005. That was when I was getting ready to do Junior Nationals. Steve Bleckman actually got my work phone number. I was working at Valley Total Fitness as a retail manager, and he was calling my job like every day to try to get me assigned with MD. And then Peter McGuff was hitting me up about AMI, or Weider at the time, Weider AMI.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason why I remember talking to Steve Blackman was because he said, yeah, I got Flex Wheeler wanting to meet up with you. And I was like, okay, I just might sign with y'all just because of Flex Wheeler wanting to hang out with me and stuff, because this guy's a freaking legend. So I actually met Flex. The first time I met him, it was after prejudging at the 2005 Junior Nationals. And he actually bought me lunch. And my friend, my boy Ty, Tyrone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Tyrone was there. And we were, I was broke, dude. I had no money. I had literally like when we're like, I'm talking about,
I know,
like,
brother.
I spent all my money on that prep. I had $46 to my name that weekend. So I'm talking like, and my food spoiled. So I had like no food like the previous night. I'm eating like oatmeal, asparagus, and just dry oats. Oatmeal, yeah, and peanut butter. That's what I had. And then Flex saw me that next day, was like, man, you're going to look like you win the show, man, this and that. So we were over here talking. He bought me lunch, and I'll never forget that shit because I was starving, number one. And number two,
which show was that? Which show was that? Was that Juniors?
Was Junior Nationals, bro.
Juniors.
That was Junior Nationals, man. So shout out to Flex, man. He helped out a young brother when he didn't have nothing. Like, I didn't have shit, bro.
Yeah.
And, you
got
always
some good
remember those stories
about
man.
Flex. Well, we got when we get together, maybe on the next time we get together, I got to tell you everybody about the story about Flex Wheeler coming to my 30th birthday party. So I'm 45 now. So this is 15 years ago.
Well, I know about
And
this.
and we had rented a luxury bus. And he got so wasted. I'm just going to tell the story right now. So he got so wasted, him and his girl at the time came, and then me and my girl at the time, and then, some names like Chris Cook and his girl, and just, I mean, we had a great 30th birthday party. My really good friend John Woody had put it together. You know John.
Yeah.
And we went from San Jose, actually Los Gatos, to downtown San Francisco, which is about an hour. TVs. Flex Wheeler, for my 30th birthday, got so drunk that he went in the bathroom, and it was a rainy, windy day, and we were driving to San Francisco.
On a bus.
All of a sudden, on the bus.
On the party bus.
On the party bus. And we all started looking at each other and go, "Where's Flex Wheeler? How's he missing?" And someone said, "I think he's still in the bathroom." The door flings open because it wasn't locked, because he didn't lock it all the way. And he's pissing, and it's flying everywhere. He's literally peeing. I'm putting him out there because I love you, Flex.
He's pissing and he's missing. That's what he's doing.
He's pissing. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect hashtag. Flex Wheeler is drunk as fuck, and he's pissing everywhere while the bus is moving. Music's going off. We got music, rap videos in the background, and I am dying because he is literally pissing. I'm like, "Dude, don't get it on yourself, bro. Don't get it on yourself." And he's like, man, close the door. And he's trying to close the door while he's trying to grab his junk and trying to pee. And
oh my God,
I'll never forget it.
He's gonna kill you for that. Bro.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm sorry, Flex. I had to do it. I love you, but It was probably one of the best memories of my birthday I ever had.
It really was, Flex, because he done told me the story like 10 times, and it's still funny. I mean. But yeah, anyway, enough about piss and missing. We got a question for
we got Big Rammy. Hey, Big Rammy.
What's up, Rammy?
What's up, Rammy?
We got one from Dave Rienzi. It says, "What year was the most challenging Olympia prep, and what were some of the life lessons you guys learned from that prep?" Oof. Shit. Well, most challenging prep, and the lessons are different. So like for me, most challenging, man, like I'd probably say like 14 was rough. Obviously 18. Well, 17 was harder than 18 in my opinion. Because I looked at it like, I'll just talk about 17. 17 was about, tying Arnold. So that had a lot of pressure on me. Because having 6, that's cool. You with Dorian, like you're already like up there, but that 7th, that was, that's when the pressure started. It was like, you need to hit 2 free throws just to go to overtime type of thing, like with no time on the clock. Like, it started messing with me a little bit. And then obviously I started noticing, physically, like we talked about, like, with the hernia and this and that, we didn't even know what that was really going on with the intestinal strangulation and all that stuff. So that prep, was very difficult because Cherie actually mentioned more of it, like, how I would train, but then like I'd be whimpering in my sleep because of the pain I was going through every night. The lessons that we learned from it was obviously, we were doing blood work constantly. We were trying to figure this stuff out. And then we realized, like, okay, the hematocrit hemoglobin was low because of the intestinal strangulation and stuff like that, because normally it would be kind of like elevated. And then obviously, the life lessons with that, knowing that once I was getting healthier, we had to pretty much, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had to throw everything out the window as far as like what we did for prep, because it wasn't the same dude.
Right.
Right. So that
we always had to adjust, but in years you mentioned, the problem we ran into was that we were dealing with a different set of variables. So when you really look at it, you say, look, if your body starts slowing down with body fat loss, we would turn around and make adjustments to the diet, the cardio. If some body parts start to feel like they're not popping, there's some things we can do. We'll throw in some extra FSC7 sets. We'll throw in some extra volume in terms of the beginning of the workout or the end of the workout. There's adjustments you can make. But when your body's not responding because of issues that are not known or not really have ever dealt with, not for you or for me, then you start becoming a detective. You got to put on your detective hat and try to figure out what is going on, what's causing these problems. And with what you mentioned, you have an intestinal strangulation that was hindering absorption of food, of nutrients, supplements, everything. So,
Everything.
and so when we start going into those details of what these different Olympias, what really caused the most concern, it's the unknown, because it's not something you've ever had to deal with, not with me, with another athlete, not with you in regards to, the previous prep. And so literally we're digging down a rabbit hole that we haven't gone through. So again, those years, it became really, really tough, because things that you would even think that might be counterproductive. When I'm telling you, drink a whole Sprite.
Yeah, it's like why the fuck am I drinking Sprite in between prejudging and like 2 hours before the night show starts, and then I'm over in Hany's room, and he's like looking at me like, and he's like pissed off, and he just goes, have a handful of some fries, eat like a couple bites of your not cheeseburger. I wish I had a cheeseburger, but like a burger, and then nothing happened, and then you're like, sip on this, and there's a Sprite. I sip on it within like 2 minutes.
Yep.
He was like, all right, start hitting poses. Then Fairness comes out of the bedroom. You like grab her out of the bedroom, and you're like, look at
check this out, babe.
And then everything's just like, it was like that. He-Man.
Or as our boy Henry Cavill would say, dun 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 dun.
Oh my God! It was like that shit. And it's funny because you have those oh shit moments, and then I try to tell people, like, when you're hiring coaches, or if you think you are a coach, you're only as good as when the adjustment that you can make, he or she can make, when shit gets like really, really bad like that. Like, and you're like, it's very easy to take like a program that you and I would put out online and apply it to everybody else. But it's another thing when that doesn't work.
Right.
And then you have to adjust. And then you're not just adjusting to go look decent. You're adjusting to go look phenomenal, to be the best in the world. And that's where, even mentally, I would say more than anything, you have to be like remember we were talking about that movie, Pacific Rim. The character couldn't drive that Jaeger on his own. It was too much a load. Therefore, he needed two people, and they had to be in sync. So for us, the reason why I think it worked is because we were always in sync with each other. We always knew, like, our egos could get in the way and be like, nah, fuck this, let's do this, let's do that. And it's like, nah, man, let's just, okay, you say your piece, all right, cool. Now we're even. And let's just, and it was like always like, when we're able to do it, we could go out there and go fight now. Like, we're like, all right, perfect, we're good. We can go kill it. But it takes a lot of, I would say it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, building rapport with that person you deal with. But yeah, I wanted to see a couple of the questions. I know some were coming in Farsi and stuff, so I don't know how to read that.
Yeah, me either.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody over there.
Obviously, we have a huge following. I mean, I do, obviously, but also because of the fact that, we keep talking about how the Middle East has grown. I mean, we have people right now from Brazil. You guys can let us know where you're from. But, the Middle East, they love bodybuilding. I mean, I think it's outgrowing soccer at this point. because
Oh yeah,
most of the
for sure.
time
Like,
it gets
you
so
know,
hot they don't want to be outside, so they want to be inside
no,
and training,
I don't blame them.
and
I mean,
that's why I
some
think it's really grown there.
yeah, some guys are just for everybody that's just getting in. You are watching live with myself and Hany Rambod. Some people ask like, how did we meet? We met at the IFBB North Americans, and yeah, that's really how we met. I think I approached you
Mm-hmm.
because you were writing for Muscular Development at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew about you. I mean, you probably knew about me a little bit because I had just turned pro,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
not like I've been around and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I met you, and then I'll be honest, man, I was just like, this guy's pretty chill, you know, like I get along, and you knew all the other pros, so that was cool. But when I always say this, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, no one's really like telling me to work with this guy. No one is telling me, yeah, man, you should work with Hany. And I'm like, that's interesting because Hany's training a dude that I just kind of went against, you know, Omar Decker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were a different weight class, but I mean, still, you know, same show. And he's training him with like only 3 weeks of prep, and you look way different, like way different. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
huh. And y'all telling me not to train with this dude. Okay. So then I started
One person told you to train with me. Who was that?
Everybody at AMI, they wanted me to work with Chris Aceto.
No, but who was the one that did tell you to work with me? That had another coach that won some Olympia
Oh,
titles.
Ronnie motherfucking Coleman.
That was what was funny.
Ronnie
That was
Coleman
the funny.
told
That's
me
the
to
funny
work
part of the
with
story.
Ronnie Coleman told me to work with Hany, fresh out of him winning his 8th Sandow in 2005. So I was there. I was sitting in the cheap seats, and I was there solo. I got invited to the after party. I see Hany and Ronnie there. They were tight, like how Hany and I are now. That's how they were.
Mm-hmm.
They were kicking it. I remember you saying, hey, that's Phil, this and that. Y'all were up on the fucking stage, and what was crazy is that Ronnie was like, oh, yeah, brother, dude. Come on up here. And I'm like, how do I get up on the stage? He like grabs my arms and picks me up onto the stage. I'm like, man, this dude just picked up a grown-ass man. He made me look like a little bitch. He just picked up a 250-pound man with like one arm.
Hey, bro, don't get crazy. You weren't 250 then.
That was I was 235.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You were 235.
Soft.
235. Yeah.
Soft.
Soft, baby face.
Bro, I was
super
man,
soft.
I was softer than baby.
Body. Yeah, the closest thing you were to the king was Burger King.
Bro, I was so soft. I was probably softer than like a McFlurry. Like it was like soft. But
yeah,
but hell, man, I was only training for like 2.5 years. What do you expect, right?
But it was just but it was cool. But that's what Ron was.
But yeah, that's how we met.
Tell
And
little
Ronnie,
dude. I think that's what he said. Tell little dude. Tell him to come on stage.
Yeah, and then yeah. So then Ronnie's drinking a Smirnoff Ice. I'm looking at this big ass dude. I'm like, this guy's drinking Smirnoff Ice. I guess that's what I should be drinking too. Hey, give me 2. And then we get to talking later on, and then I had asked Ronnie. I said, who do you think I should work with, man? He was like, oh man, like you should work with Hany, man. And I said, well, I'm not working with anybody right now. I turned pro on my own. He was like, yeah, man, like you're gonna need someone like him because you're gonna be like all over the world and stuff, and you're gonna need someone to like have your back. So I was like, all right, bet. So then it just kept resonating in my head, like, all right, if he told me this and all these other competitors and shit are telling me that Hany ain't no good, I'm like, nah, y'all just don't want me to work with Hany because they knew what was about to happen. And yeah, that's how we made it happen, man. But hey, real quick, shout out to my guy, Bill Wilmore, Billy Goat. What up? Bill Wilmore in the house. Bill Wilmore worked with Hany for many years.
Yeah. I turned Bill Wilmore pro in 2005 when he won.
If you didn't turn Bill Wilmore pro along with Ray Hardy that same show, I might not have worked with you. I'm being honest because I got to see. So a lot of people don't realize this. I actually job shadowed you. Like I was like analyzing everything. Like how did Hany like prep these guys, but how did he also interact with their family, with their friends, loved ones? You know, these guys got girlfriends, wives, etc. How does he interact with them? Because if I'm going to work with them, of course he's going to now be in my personal business. So I need to know like how he maneuvers and this and that, because Bill and Ray already were in 2 different weight classes. So 2 different lives. And that was something that I really admired, because I don't see that I didn't at the time, I can't speak on every other coach, but I just didn't feel that same energy. It was more like, here's your diet, here's your thing, check in next week, that's it. Managing egos, managing, people's like personal shit. Like, I mean, Hany's been there for me through the beginning when I was no money, no nothing, to making some money, to getting married, getting divorced, getting engaged to Shree, father passing away, like all this other shit. So it was like, when people think like, well, like I remember losing a show and people were like, man, you should just ditch him and go with this dude. I'm like, you guys don't get it, man. I already vibe with this guy. I'm going to not do the dumbass thing that most people do.
That was after you placed
when I placed 5th at the Arnold.
Arnold, yeah.
When I placed 5th at the Arnold. And the only reason why I placed 5th at the Arnold is because yo ass trained Gustavo.
Yeah.
Because I would have probably got at least 4th.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn it. I'm being way too damn nice.
Yep,
but
that year I worked with Gustavo Bedell too.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It was cool, though,
but that's why I said, if they want your look for that show, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be up there battling it out in the top 2, 3. Obviously, they said you still weren't big enough yet.
Right.
And that's when I told you, take the year off. And I think that was 07. And then we went right into 08.
Yep.
And in 08 was Iron Man. And that was kind of like, that's when the Dream Killer came out.
No, that was still the gift then.
I think it was kind of Little Remnants. Because if it was the gift, it was the gift / Punisher, because you needed to punish those who wanted to oppose the whole thing in 08. You know what I mean? Because when you came out and you took the time, and we again didn't do the Olympia, was qualified, because I believe you were qualified that year too, and then went into 08. 08, what happened? Iron Man. And and honestly, Dexter saw that shit and said, "Oh man, he upped his game." He's like, "Okay," and then you came in top 2 against Dex at the Arnold's a couple weeks later.
Oh man, I mean, I definitely made sure that we put him on notice and shit, but of course, like these guys did not know that on your heels, like. This dude's better than me. He's gonna get me. If anything, I personally feel like I put more pressure on these guys than any other person they competed with. That's just my opinion, because I felt that shit.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Dexter, that's a whole different story. Dexter definitely did a good job holding you off in the beginning.
Oh yeah,
and he
was complete.
I mean, yeah. Absolutely. And you were the closest kind of a similar type of physique, but when you kind of outgrew the old you and went into the new you, then it became, obviously you started to gap him in regards to that. But in regards, to the ability to, you guys were battling and you were kind of like the young pup, and he kind of, how he always would give you a hard time.
All the time.
But that gave a lot of motivation. And what people don't understand, I've got some different stories of how Dexter Jackson motivated both of us in many different ways, and those will be for a different day, but I'll definitely be speaking about those at some point. So thanks, Dex. Thanks for that extra motivation.
Oh, I mean, what you mean, dude? Like that was it was like more like that Tony Stark flying down, about to whoop their ass. But yeah, no, like there was a question here that I wanted to answer real quick. One guy asked, did I ever consider working with Charles Glass? Actually, I had met Hany way before that. So if I never met Hany, if Hany didn't exist, maybe I would have, because I've seen Charles in like the Battle for the Olympia videos and stuff like that, but Hany was more of like an all-in-one coach. Whereas I felt like from what I saw, like with Charles, like he always partitioned like some of the diet and the protocol stuff, like with some other person. He just focused on like the training. But I also didn't live in California, and I felt like that's where he did all his work with those clients of his. Is that very hands on. Like I have to train this person every day. What people don't realize is that Hany and I did this remotely our entire career.
Well, a lot of people don't understand that one of the reasons why FST7 even came about was because of you.
Yeah.
That's another good story.
Yeah, we had to do something different because there was no way to say, okay, well, I'm going to fly out to Northern Cali and stay with you for 12 weeks to get ready for a show. It just wasn't happening. I mean, I was married at the time, I had my own life. And then, just the whole altitude training system, people don't realize, like, coming from being born in sea level, living in Seattle, Washington, all those years, being in Denver, a whole mile high, it's very, very challenging. And then when Hany developed FST7 training, I mean, it really made my development get that much better, like exponential growth, just like that. And it was very consistent, so I really liked how we were able to work remotely, because you and I both are self-starters. I didn't really feel like, and you know how I feel about it. It's like, although I love you, I don't know if I would have wanted to be trained like every single day by you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It just
because
like
you can't handle, especially the way I train. Like it wouldn't even work.
Different. It's just different, man. Like, because it's like asking Phil Jackson and Jordan to be around each other 24/7. It's like, I don't know if it's not necessary. It would have been necessary maybe if I was a lazy bastard, you know what I'm saying, and just didn't want to follow anything, but you would have fired me as a client. So it just worked. It was like, it ain't broke. Let's not try to, ruin anything. One guy asked, how does FSC7 differentiate from other training training styles of training? You can answer that one.
Yeah, so FSC7 was designed to increase, number one, intensity through remote training. That's why it was designed that way. So that way I can know that someone can actually increase their intensity through volume, which I felt was really going to help with creating a more 3D physique. And then you hear me say that all the time. And it also included the ability to use high intensity training in the beginning of the exercises, in the beginning of the workout. So you get the best of both worlds, because everyone knows that I talk about a stronger muscle is a bigger muscle. And in 13 we did that, and 11 we did that, where I concentrated on your strength and then being able to use heavier weights during your FST7 sets. So that was something that we did, which really helped. Happened in 08 as well, when we went in for the Ironman and you were 10 or 15 pounds heavier. It was because you were able to get stronger, use heavier weight for FST7 sets. And that's when your body really started to grow. Legs grew, your back grew. Like, I mean, people used to say your back and your chest were your weakest body parts. So at the end of the day, you ended up having one of the best, if not the best, back double bicep in the history of the sport. So, and I'm not sitting here bragging. I'm just saying it's a known fact. So, the FSC7 program was designed to be able for me to work remotely with my clients and be able to increase their intensity and be able to create more efficiency with workouts, even if I wasn't there. So,
yeah. So another guy's question was talking about intermittent fasting. I really don't.
We don't do it.
Personally, I would never do it for Olympia prep or anything like that. I might consider it if I was like, doing a different sport or something like that, or just like never really getting into the gym. Like if I was really inconsistent of even training, maybe I would consider it just to try it. But I'm always trying to stick with what has been working for me, and that has always been like, staying consistent with dieting. Just every 2.5-3 hours eating. variety of foods. I'm not just like, I'm not going to trash like a keto versus vegan versus this. It's just like everybody's doing their own thing. But for me, it's always been a combination of foods. You know that. Periodization as far as like carbs and fats, having those different days differ, but it all revolves around data. And I think, for what we do, what we've done has always revolved around like the pictures, because that's the proof of the performance.
Right.
But also having those handwritten notes of saying like, hey, what was your diet like during this period of time?
Yep.
Looking at the pictures, how did you look? How did you feel? What did you do? What was your weight?
Yep.
And those things, those four things really, if you really think about it, you really think about it, that's all that matters. So regardless of what style you want to do, if you don't have proof in your performance, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board, but you have to start with the drawing board, figure it out in the first place. So that goes back to the organization and attention to that detail. There was another question that says, and everybody wants to know, Phil, will you go for number 8 or has that time passed? I will be honest with you. Last year, I was like, all right, let's make sure that we're healthy, this and that, let's get through all that. That was very difficult. But, getting back in the gym, gosh, it was actually around this time last year, which is kind of weird. So getting back in that gym, starting to feel a little bit better. Next thing you know, summertime comes, and here I am doing that appearance, with Giles and AJ out in
UK.
The UK, and Perry goes out there. People saw those pictures. They're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And, we had talked briefly about it, pretty much up until like August. But, it just wasn't, I just couldn't fully commit to it. And that's something that, Hany and I pride ourselves on. It's like, if you can't fully commit to it, then don't do it.
Right.
And I was really like something I was like, and then we were so like used to being programmed to just do the show no matter what, that we're like, man, let's just sit this one out. And then I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to go because I just want to know what it feels like to be home. I just want to know what it feels like to just...
that sucked, by the way, but okay.
I know. Hany was really pissed. But essentially, you know what, to answer the question, I'm not retired. Everything's up in the air at the moment. Folks can't even go.
Who do you think should have won the last year's Olympia?
Ooh, you really put me on the spot here. I wasn't there. I'm like everybody else, like thinking that they know everything. Watching on. I was watching on my damn cell phone.
You don't have to answer that. I'm just
saying, like I'm like everybody else, literally like watching it on the iPad or cell phone. So I don't really know, but I definitely think it was closer than what people made it out to be. That's my opinion. I don't think I would have had a problem with Bonac winning or even Hany winning. I think Hany did an incredible job. You guys did an incredible job, especially with the circumstances y'all dealt with. Shit, like that's impossible.
Well, people, that's a whole different.
That's a whole other lie.
I'm still trying to talk Danny into making that into a movie.
Yeah, that's a movie.
Not without my dumbbells. It should be called
Right. Looking at some other questions.
Yeah, let's do a couple of quick ones, and then we can save ones for some. We got so much other stuff to talk about. We can take it on to another live or
Shree says, Hany or Bonac? That's tough, man. But that was like, I think that was her response to the.
To who do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, be honest, like I said, it could have been either one of them guys, and I'd be like, all right, like I ain't got no problem with that.
Yeah.
Well,
they all. Yeah. That's like
it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't no blowout. So I thought the top 3 looked great. You could say this person had this person had this person had this.
Absolutely.
I definitely think because of the hype, Hany was the most impressive because, I could say that was most impressive because we never seen him on Olympia stage. So it was like, whoa, like, really, really awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's answer a couple more questions. Shree saying, I'm saying either one could have won. They're both more complete. See, the queen knows. She knows what you're talking about.
Right. Let's talk about Kai's because some people asked about Kai.
Okay.
And this will be a good one. At some point, what we should do is we should get Kai because that would be a good conversation, because we talk a little bit about the Olympia. What was it? 2000? Was it 2012? When did the pony? What year was the ponytail incident?
That was 14.
14.
Because he got pissed because of the press conference.
Yeah, he was still pissed when he was on stage, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like he came in with a game plan
Okay.
to try to get into here, and it didn't work. And then that's when, you know, he was trying to impose his will, in my opinion. And that's when he did the hair flip. And I was like, did I just get hit in the eye?
So let me get this straight, because a lot of people don't realize this. Was that made up, or was that real at that moment?
Well, which part? Because
the part when you're on stage and you guys were getting, he was getting into your face and all that was happening. Was that real?
I would say, this guy said, did you pull his ponytail? Of course it was real, because of the fact that I wasn't notified by any person in the industry. There was no magazine. There was no phone call, text message. Like, hey, you and I are going to get after it. There was nothing. Like, there was no like, hey, bro, like, I don't really fuck with you, but like, here's what we should do. We should kind of do some WWE type of thing.
And that was never.
That was never discussed at all.
Never discussed.
I mean, if he had direction by somebody, maybe his coach or somebody else in the industry, to tell him to do that, then that's for him to answer. But for me, on my end, I'm like, well, the press conference, here's what happened. I remember this press conference, everything is cool, and then he just starts hammering me, like getting in my shit. And I'm like, all right, well, you're being kind of rude, you're being really disrespectful. And then I'm just being calm about it. And then, Bob Chick asked a question, and, I hit him with the 3 facts, and I dropped the mic and stuff.
He was mad.
And the whole crowd went crazy. But I knew then, like, he wanted to be a Mr. Olympia so fucking bad.
Yeah.
That it went there. And I actually applaud it, because it ain't no different than me playing basketball and some guy talking shit on the court. Like, that's how I looked at it. I wasn't really like, fuck this guy. This guy's you know what I mean? It was more like, I know why he
You're used to it. Yeah, you were used to that.
Like,
you knew where it was coming from.
Man, we're competitors. We're competitors, and he wants to be Mr. Olympia. He wants to have that title. That's what he trains for. That's what he sacrificed more years than I had at the time. And it bothered him. And I'm like, well, I would probably do the same thing and try to get under someone's skin, because if I can do that, then that means I win. So, I give him props for having that foresight and saying, look, man, if I can get into Phil Heath's head a little bit and he come in a little off, I'm going to kick his ass, and I'm going to take that title home. I'm going to hold it in front of him and shit. So I always respected him for that, actually. A lot of people thought that, oh, he went personal and he's this, that, and the other. That's for the fans. Look, at the end of the day, I don't blame him. It was like Red Sox, Yankees type of shit. It is what it is. I think he's one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. He's definitely in my, honestly, top 5. In my personal top 5, just because he was probably the most dense. Jeez, the most.
Yeah, he was deadly.
He was so fucking dangerous. Like, it was that he and I both fed off of that, and that's why
that's why you got better, 100%. I mean,
absolutely,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you can't get better without. You can't get better without that. Anybody that wants success at a very high level, you're going to be challenged.
Just like Jay got better because of Ronnie. Same reason.
It was just different because the social media era was upon us. Jay and Ronnie didn't have that. Fans going against each other, I mean, online constantly. It boosted the sport, though, and I give him mad props for doing it. Now, he and I fuck with each other online and talking shit. But this guy says, Phil, be honest. Have you ever been afraid of the possibility of Kai beating you? The answer was no. It was more like, do I have, like, let's say a nightmare of me just not looking good?
Right.
That was more of like, oh shit, like,
you losing. You're more worried about
me losing my superpowers, basically.
Right.
Like, it's like Superman losing his shit. Like,
right.
You're more worried about that than like worried about another person at that point. Because for me, it was more like, I'm expecting him to be better every time. I'm expecting in my mind, to be honest, don't know if I ever told you this, honey, but I was expecting like a Ronnie Coleman to resurface. That's how I triggered my mind. So when I'm in the gym by myself, I have to think that that's who I'm going against, because that was my barometer as greatness. So I'm like, well, if I can, be compared to him, then these other guys, they're just competitors to me. And some people say, oh, that's disrespect. It's like, nah, man, I'm focusing on me so much that I can't think about what he's going to do. Now, will I say he has this body part that might be better, this and that, and can we train about? That's how we develop game plan. But it was never like, I don't really recall us having conversation like, oh, we got to worry about this person. It was, I don't ever.
No. It was always, it's like that conversation that I remember having with you after you won 2011, was that don't worry about anybody else, just worry about not being Mr. Olympia again, and remember how that feels, how great it feels to be Mr. Olympia after 2011.
Right.
It's going to be 10 times worse every time you win, because
right.
the feeling of withdrawal is a serious drug.
Yeah.
So, and the more you win, the harder it gets. But like I said, I think that goes without saying. But yeah, people ask me all the time, did Phil train to try to beat Jay, or did Phil train to beat Kai, or did Phil train to beat Dexter? No, Phil always tried to beat Phil, versions of Phil that we at that time considered his best. When we were prepping in 2013, he was trying to beat the 2011 version of him,
right?
Because that was considered kind of like the high watermark.
Yeah, their favorite. That was their favorite.
Right.
Because 2011 was like complete, shredded.
Yes.
2012 was more dense.
Yep.
Because we knew that the weight advantage was going toward Kai.
Yep.
Where Kai actually came down in weight.
Yep.
He came in very crisp. That was the most crispy Kai Green I've probably ever seen. I thought he was going to stay at that weight the following year, because I felt like, oh, well, he should just stay there, because if I'm off, that would be the way to win.
Right.
Because he would be shredded. And no one could be like, well, Phil, like, he out-conditioned you. It is what it is.
Right.
But then I remember you telling me, it was like, we got to combine 2011. If we combine a little bit 2012, even if we weren't as crispy, it's going to be different, because the muscle is just so
3D.
round.
You're so round. Yeah.
So that's what we did. And that shit, that was disgusting. Like, that was just like, fuck, dude. Like I still remember it, because I remember how good Kai looked. I remember how, and that's the cool part, is that I think I have one of the coolest memories of bodybuilding, because I'm up on stage with the fans' favorite dude. It may not be me, but I'm like, wow, like backstage, like, wow, that's Dennis Wolf. Like, that was Dennis Wolf's best year, 2013.
Yep.
He looked fucking incredible.
I remember.
I
remember he was a real threat.
Dude, he was, bro, like that motherfucker, like that dude, if he was tough.
Yeah.
Because he's tall, like he's so tall and
big, and he's wide, and he's big.
Like, wide, like, so it was just great, man. Those are fucking good times, man. But I would say that, and then like after the fifth one, that's when shit got weird, because I won the show, or we won the show. You come back stage, and you looked at me and you're like, we're fucked. And I go, and I don't know if you remember this, but he was like, we're fucked. And I was like, what do you mean fucked? He goes, everything we did, we got to throw out the window. You're a different bodybuilder now. Remember you said that?
I remember having multiple conversations with you, and I can't remember if that was 2000 and what was that, 2016? 15?
15.
15.
You had to throw everything out of the window and start fresh.
And I remember there was a point, and it was probably that year, where I just said, your body has to we have to revamp quite a bit. We have
that
to
was the year.
Yeah, we have to change quite a bit of things.
Everything. Training, diet, off-season diet, everything. Like, it was just, and a lot of people probably want to know what that means. It's like basically the foods that I was eating was like, no. The cheat meals that never even took, now was like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
Because we focused so much on conditioning throughout these preps.
Mm-hmm.
And then as my body got, I would say, evolved like past like '08, my off-season look started to get seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
So I was only bloated because like water retention. It wasn't like a bunch of fat.
Right.
So I remember you telling me like, you got to do these cheat meals, this and that and the other. And even like, a couple years ago, it's like I was so in my head, and this is where bodybuilders, I'm very fortunate to have this problem, but remember, I wasn't even eating all the cheat meals I was supposed to because I was so frightened that was going to make me look bad, but actually it was going to make me look good.
Yeah.
And that's something that guys
And
like
speed up your metabolism.
right. And that's something that I noticed like guys like Dexter Jackson have a really good handle on. Like he knows like, all right, well, I probably need this meal because because my structure isn't.
Well, and here's another good thing, and I kind of want to, maybe end it at this, but people don't realize Dexter Jackson's naturally a smaller dude.
Right.
Okay. And he's naturally a very conditioned guy. I remember those talks he would have with Arnold after he would win on stage, and they're like, "How much cardio did you do?" And he goes like 10 minutes,
Right.
But I really feel that people think that you're naturally shredded, and you're not. And to get your metabolism to roll, you would have to manipulate it in many different ways with cheat meals, with high intensity cardio, with a lot of other things, especially at the very beginning of your career.
Right.
And but again, that is a whole different story, because there's a lot of different things and nuances that we did to be able to get you through those plateaus, to be able to overcome them and get your body to really come up and get even leaner through versus the following year, or rounder. And you make a really good point, but that's why these people are so different. Dexter is a guy who's always been very, very lean. His issue hasn't been being conditioned. His issue is just being, staying big, and and staying round and not getting flat. And at least that's my opinion from what I've seen Dexter, his whole career.
Yeah,
because he started off with like a bantamweight and then went all the way up into
this shit is unheard of. No, this shit is unheard of. Like to be able to be that consistent condition wise. I mean, it's one thing that I made sure that I always kept at the forefront. Like to say, okay, well, if he's the dude that's always ripped consistently, then I have to be at least that. And shout out to Uncle Dex, this and that, old motherfucker looking like ancient sea turtle, ancient artifact. But he knows I got love for him and stuff. I just have to make fun of him a little bit. But you know what I mean? He's crazy though, man.
Yeah. But anyways, I want to say thank you, bro. Thanks for taking the time, because no
worries.
And we never got a chance to do this. Obviously, the last few minutes I turned off the comments, so that way I just thought of that actually.
Because that's all good. Yeah, no, we'll do this again. I mean, this is part one. Definitely got a zillion more stories and a lot more perspectives on training and mindset and stuff that I know that a lot of people would like to see. I will tell you guys this: if you like what you see, Hany, keep this up for probably next 24 hours, and then just get rid of it maybe. But then what I was gonna say is we need you guys' involvement. Like, we need to know like what you like, what you didn't like. So DM both of us. Because it's really important that we hear from you. Otherwise, we probably won't do it again. And we want to keep doing it, but we want to know like how we can make it better for you. Because Hany and I can get on the call and just, do this ourselves. But we really want to make it done for you.
Right.
And we all, and I'm going to say this for both of us, is that we appreciate you guys, but most importantly, we want you guys to be healthy, to be safe. But be obviously encouraged during this time of, dealing with, the crisis that's going on right now. Just do your best to not live in fear, but to be prepared. And that's something that even during this talk, if you can take any snippet from what we discussed, Hany and I both, is that we didn't work out of fear. We prepared for the storm, and we always met it head on. And we're asking you to do the same, and just to be confident in your abilities, learn your strengths, your weaknesses during this point in time. So then when we get out of this, we all come out better. And last but not least, be freaking positive and love one another. I can't stress that enough, man. We are all the same right now. And you just got to love on one another right now. Everybody's going through something. something different, but we got to be, we got to be positive.
Yeah. Appreciate the words, man. Again, everyone, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We love you all. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.
Peace.